My name is Samantha Miller. I'm 30 years old. After graduating from college, I started working as an office clerk at a law firm where I met my husband, Tyler. He was a newly minted lawyer, popular for his eloquence and good looks. But that's not all. He was kind, gentle, and very funny. Having had no luck with men in the past, and never being the one to actively pursue love, he seemed like a prince to me. He always treated me like a princess, and I found myself increasingly drawn to him. About a year into our relationship, I discovered I was pregnant. When I told him, he cried tears of joy. He proposed to me right then and there. I believed we could build a happy family together. I immediately said yes. Little did I know, I would regret not being more cautious later on, but at that moment, I felt like the happiest person in the world. However, this happiness was fleeting and soon vanished after we got married.
You don't understand my job. You're just a graduate from a mediocre university.
My husband started abusing me soon after we got married. He started coming home late in the mornings, and when I asked him out of curiosity, he would yell at me. He had recently switched to a new law firm, so maybe he was stressed, but it was absurd for him to take it out on me.
Then it got worse. The house is a mess. You're only good at housework, so do it properly. Where's my breakfast? You're so slow.
My clothes for today aren't ready. Hurry up and get them, he would say, treating me like a maid. Pregnant and struggling to move, I still had to try to keep him happy. I spent every day walking on eggshells, constantly thinking about how not to upset him. Carrying my heavy belly, I kept trying to appease my husband to prevent him from getting angry. Every day felt like a precarious balancing act. I constantly thought about what I could do to avoid upsetting him. I had to do certain things to keep him in a good mood. I was always preoccupied with these thoughts in my mind. Where did the man I married before go? I know it's too late for regrets. But if I could go back to before we were married, I probably wouldn't have married him. As I thought this, the baby kicked. I can't be negative. Maybe he'll change when the baby is born. But my faint hope was soon shattered. While preparing to send his jacket to the dry cleaners, I found a receipt in the pocket. Despite knowing I shouldn't, I looked at it. It was for women's makeup. Feeling a terrible premonition, I decided to secretly check my husband's phone while he was in the bath. He probably never thought I would snoop on his phone. It wasn't locked, and I could look at it immediately. To my dismay, there were numerous love messages from a woman. The woman sent sweet messages asking, "Please divorce your wife and marry me." To this, my husband replied shockingly. I was trembling with anger and shock. His reply was, "I too want to divorce that ugly woman soon and be with you." Even while I was heavily pregnant, he was secretly enjoying his time with a mistress. While I was working hard on household chores to please him, he was having a good time with his lover. The mere thought made me feel sick. How much did he need to look down on me to be satisfied? I couldn't forgive him. I decided to confront him directly, filled with rising anger. Maybe he would realize and stop the affair. But later, I would realize how wrong I was. He came home around 11 p.m. I hurriedly prepared his dinner and sat at the table. Then, he looked at me with obvious disgust.
"Why are you sitting here? I want to eat alone,"
he said in front of his wife. I couldn't believe he would say such a thing. But I decided to confront him about the affair. If he knew I checked his phone, he would be furious. So I avoided mentioning the messages. "Tyler, you're having an affair, aren't you?" I tried to speak calmly, but my voice was shaking with anger. He looked surprised at first, but only for a moment. Then, unbelievably, he started to laugh. I couldn't understand what was funny and was taken aback. "You, with that face, telling me not to cheat? Don't act so high and mighty, just a stay-at-home wife. I'm the one supporting you." His words left me speechless. Instead of admitting and repenting, he attacked me. It was clear, nothing I said would get through to him. I was beyond angry, I was in shock. "If you don't want me to cheat, you should dress up more. Your face is pretty bad." From that moment, I stopped expecting anything from my husband. His return home became unpredictable. Perhaps thinking the affair was out in the open, he didn't care anymore. His absences from home increased, not returning even for days. However, one day, after such days continued, something unusual happened. Normally, no matter how late, my husband would return home by the next morning, but there was a time when he didn't come back for 2 days. I wondered what happened. During these thoughts, I suddenly felt a sharp pain in my stomach. It might be labor. With that thought, I took a taxi to the hospital. I hesitated to call my husband, but he was the only one I could rely on at that moment. Reluctantly, while clutching my aching belly, I called my husband. However, he did not answer the phone at all. The nurses looked concerned, but I had no choice but to enter the delivery room alone. Following the nurse's instructions, I pushed hard, but the baby wouldn't come. The midwife was puzzled. 24 hours passed without the baby being born. After enduring labor pain all day, I was exhausted. The obstetrician decided it was too risky to continue and opted for an emergency cesarean section. And then, after the operation, my baby was finally born, crying out loudly. He was a healthy and adorable boy. Just as I felt relieved hearing his cries, I lost consciousness. When I awoke, I was in a hospital bed. I had been transferred to a larger hospital after losing consciousness post-delivery. The doctor explained that the difficult birth caused severe bleeding and anemia. Once conscious, I was soon discharged and able to return to the maternity hospital where my baby waited. I finally went home with my baby. In the end, my husband never came to the hospital to see me or the baby. When I returned home and lay down next to my newborn baby, I couldn't move my body as I wanted due to the after effects of the anemia from the difficult birth. Then, as if nothing had happened, my husband came home. He sighed upon seeing me, exhausted and unwell, without even a glance at his newborn child. Then he said something shocking.
"With that face and body, I can't see you as a woman anymore. I'm going to my mistress."
I couldn't believe my ears. That's not something one should say to a wife who has just given birth and is suffering from after effects. I couldn't understand why he would say something like that. Does he not know the difference between what should and shouldn't be said? As I was filled with anger, he added, "Oh, and I won't be paying any alimony. I'm the victim here for marrying an ugly woman." With that, he packed his things and left. Alone in the house, I was at a loss. He chose his mistress over me and our baby. I couldn't believe he would leave his newborn child for his mistress. I swore then to get my revenge. Soon after, he sent divorce papers, and we were officially divorced. He never held the baby, becoming a stranger to us. I was furious with my irresponsible ex-husband, but wanted nothing more to do with him. Alone and anxious, I started a new life with my baby, whom I named Alex. As he declared, my ex-husband didn't pay alimony or child support. I juggled multiple part-time jobs while leaving Alex with my parents. Working with a baby was incredibly hard. Alex often cried at night, and I struggled with sleep deprivation while working. My parents, seeing my struggle, helped care for Alex. Without their support, I would have collapsed. After 5 busy years, one day, I was dressing in a crisp suit, filled with hope. Alex looked at me curiously.
"Mommy, you look so cool. Where are you going?"
Alex's eyes sparkled with excitement.
"Today is Mommy's first day at my new job."
At my words, Alex smiled and said, "Good luck, Mommy." These past 5 years, while juggling part-time jobs, I studied hard to become a full-time employee. Today, my dream came true as it was my first day working as a full-time employee. Alex, now 5 years old, is cheering me on. He used to be so clingy, but now he loves kindergarten and eagerly prepares himself. Thanks to that, I could leave the house smoothly. After dropping Alex off at kindergarten, I headed to my new workplace with anticipation. I stopped in front of the beautiful office building. This law firm is now my workplace. As I opened the door to the office, I saw lawyers busily preparing for the day. Having once worked in a law firm as an office clerk, the scene felt nostalgically familiar. As I admired the setting, a young and beautiful receptionist approached me. "May I help you?" Her voice drew everyone's attention to me, including a disturbingly familiar man. When I said in a slightly raised voice, "I'm Samantha Smith, and I'm starting work here today," the man visibly shook, looking at me repeatedly.
"Samantha, why are you here?"
he exclaimed, clearly shocked by my transformed appearance. Calmly, I replied, "I'm starting work here today. Is there a problem?" The man seemed panicked. Yes, the man was Tyler, my ex-husband. And the firm I had joined was his workplace. I had worked hard on myself, including dieting, so he probably hadn't recognized me when I entered.
Tyler came up to me quietly and hissed, "Go home. You can't work here. Find another office job somewhere else."
I responded in a normal voice, defiantly. "I'm not an office clerk. And I don't have to take orders from you." Tyler looked around in surprise. That was to be expected. I had never stood up to him from the time we were together until now. Seeing the defiant me, he looked perplexed. At that moment, the head of the law firm approached me. "Ms. Smith, we're looking forward to working with you. Do you know Tyler here?" The kindly-looking director asked me with a broad smile. I simply replied, "An acquaintance from the past." Tyler seemed relieved at my words. During the interview, I had told the director about becoming a single mother due to my husband's affair, and he had listened sympathetically, even shedding tears. He then decided to hire me as a full-time employee at this law firm. The director cheerfully guided me to Mr. Johnson's desk, who would be my trainer. "Ms. Smith is a promising new lawyer. Please teach her well." I greeted Mr. Johnson. Suddenly, Tyler burst out laughing. "Her, a lawyer? Impossible. It's got to be a lie." He clearly didn't believe that I was a lawyer. The director, a bit angry, said, "Tyler, what are you talking about? Ms. Smith is a lawyer. After her husband left for his mistress, she raised her young child alone while passing the bar exam. I hired her because of her hard work and dedication." The law firm was abuzz. Tyler finally seemed to realize that I was indeed a lawyer, looking at me in astonishment. And then, people around started looking at me with pity. The director continued, "Nevertheless, Ms. Smith's husband is terrible. If we find him, we'll sue and get a substantial alimony. This law firm will stand by you." The director kindly assured me. Ever since the interview, I thought the director was a good person, but his kindness moved me even more. I felt fortunate to be able to work under such a director. Meanwhile, Tyler, my ex-husband, looked pale. After Tyler left for his mistress, I studied desperately and took the bar exam. I could have attended a prep school, but juggling work and parenting made it difficult. Not to mention the cost. I wanted to save every penny for Alex's future. So I decided to study on my own. Everyone said it was impossible, but my parents supported me and took care of Alex during my exams. After nights with little sleep and hard study, I passed. I deliberately chose to work at Tyler's law firm as a way to get back at him. Fortunately, the director was very kind and considerate of my situation. I had experience working as a clerk at a law firm, but this was my first time as a lawyer. There was so much to learn, and I often stayed late due to my inexperience. Mr. Johnson, my trainer, was always kind in teaching me. He was 5 years older than me. A 35-year-old divorcee? I discovered during our chats. Surprised at our common ground, I felt fortunate to have such a kind person as my trainer. I enjoyed my work every day. Tyler would always look at me with a puzzled expression. The office knew he was divorced, but not that I was his ex-wife. He seemed afraid of everyone finding out, and avoided me at work. One day, I was working on a big case. It was challenging. While I was busy drafting documents, Tyler whispered behind me, "Hey, that's too big a job for you, isn't it? I'll take over." What was he trying to do? Take over my job? I firmly said, "I can handle it myself, thank you," and dismissed him. He walked away, looking defeated. Another day, while I was preparing coffee, the clerks were whispering among themselves. I didn't pay much attention, thinking it was just more gossip. The clerks at our office were all women. And women do love their gossip. As I was making coffee, they shared the latest hot gossip with me. It was about Ms. Thompson, the receptionist.
"Ms. Thompson seems to be involved in sugar dating. Look at this."
The clerk showed me Ms. Thompson's social media. There she was, adorned with seemingly expensive watches and jewelry. One particular photo caught my eye. It was of Ms. Thompson holding a makeup product I recognized. Her message read, "Got this as a gift. Thanks as always." That's when everything clicked for me. It all made sense now. All that was left was my revenge. I quietly awaited the right moment. A year later, the annual bonus day arrived. Everyone at the law firm looked forward to this day, especially because of the director's thoughtful gesture of presenting an effort award. This award, a cash bonus, was given by the director to the employee who had shown exceptional dedication over the year. Each employee's name was called, and they received their bonuses with joy. When it was my turn, I gratefully accepted mine, expressing my heartfelt thanks. The director smiled kindly at me. Then came the moment I had been waiting for, the announcement of the effort award. Everyone waited anxiously as the director prepared to announce the winner.
He declared loudly, "This year's effort award goes to Ms. Smith."
I internally celebrated. I had worked hard for this day. I remembered overhearing my ex-husband telling a friend about his desire to win this award. I wondered what he would think if I received it before him. He always looked down on me, belittling my college as substandard. Winning this award was my chance to prove him wrong. "Ms. Smith truly deserves this award," the director said, as everyone, except Tyler, applauded for me. Meanwhile, Tyler looked at me with a puzzled expression, as if he was looking at trash. It made me feel nauseous, recalling the past. The director encouraged me to say a few words. I had been waiting for this moment. As I began my thank you speech, I voiced something I had long planned to say today. "Thank you for this wonderful award. I was filled with despair the day my husband left for his mistress. However, this firm has helped me in so many ways. I'm truly grateful." Ironically, this effort award was something my ex-husband wanted to win, and I'm happy to receive it before him. Everyone looked at me curiously, probably full of questions. Ignoring their puzzled looks, I continued. "This might be a little payback to my ex-husband, who used to call me ugly and belittle my college as fourth-rate. What do you think, Tyler?" My words sent the office into a frenzy. Everyone looked at Tyler in disbelief, unable to imagine that he, usually so unassuming, had looked down on his wife.
Tyler, flustered, blurted, "Samantha, what are you saying? Everyone, don't listen to her. It's all lies." But a clerk loudly interjected, "He's calling her by name. It seems what Samantha is saying is true," glaring at him. Tyler, seemingly resigned, raised his voice, "Samantha and I were married, but the divorce was her fault. Everything she's saying is a lie." He lied blatantly, which was unbelievable. However, the director's face darkened. "Tyler, you're Ms. Smith's ex-husband who abandoned her." Tyler, intimidated by the director's loud voice, admitted, "I'm her ex-husband, but I didn't abandon her." The director sighed. "You haven't paid alimony or child support. That's as good as abandoning Ms. Smith and your child." Tyler was silenced by the normally calm director's raised voice. Realizing he couldn't escape the truth, he quieted down. "I had one more secret to punish my ex-husband. The final blow for you, who abandoned me and Alex. This is your old phone, which you left behind. It wasn't locked, so everything was visible." I showed the phone's messages to everyone. Tyler turned pale and desperately tried to snatch the phone. But Mr. Johnson restrained him. Everyone was fixated on the old phone screen. Then, shock rendered them speechless. The messages on the screen were from a woman, presumably his mistress, saying, "You're such a bad man for embezzling money from the firm. Keep spoiling me." After Tyler left, I noticed his old smartphone lying around while I was tidying up. Curiously, I looked inside and found it unlocked, revealing these messages. The clerks were wide-eyed, staring at Tyler in disbelief. "Embezzling company money. That's despicable," they whispered among themselves. In the midst of this, the director glared at Tyler in fury. "You embezzled the $400,000 missing so far. Unbelievable. You're fired. Don't come back." Tyler was devastated by the director's words. "There's a reason for this." He desperately tried to explain,
but the director wasn't listening. Seeing Tyler in despair felt satisfying. But my revenge wasn't over yet. That person needs to be taken down.
Miss Thompson, I'm sure you enjoyed those luxurious dates with Tyler.
Miss Thompson was taken aback, her face turning pale. The attention shifted from Tyler to her. She looked down, defeated.
This has nothing to do with me. It was all Tyler's doing.
She stammered. The clerks began to murmur. Unbeknownst to all, Tyler's mistress was Miss Thompson, a clerk at our law firm. Tyler looked at her in disbelief.
That's terrible. You asked for all those expensive things, so I embezzled the money because I loved you.
Miss Thompson scoffed at him.
I never asked for such things. And to me, you were just a friend.
Everyone silently watched their exchange, wondering what was going on in a law firm of all places. The director promptly escorted the two out of the office, ending my revenge triumphantly. Both Tyler and Ms. Thompson were dismissed. Tyler avoided criminal charges due to the director's kindness but promised to repay the embezzled money. Tyler, who arrogantly assumed he'd easily find another job, quickly learned that the legal community was small. His embezzlement and affair were well known, making it impossible for him to find work as a lawyer. Indeed, that seems to be the case. A legal expert abandoning his wife was a serious issue for any firm. Despite being a lawyer, my ex-husband was foolish enough not to understand the consequences of his actions. Now, he's reportedly juggling part-time jobs to repay the embezzled money, a situation he's been forced into due to his own misdeeds. Meanwhile, Miss Thompson, the mistress, lost interest in Tyler once the money was gone and reportedly moved on to another man. She truly is a woman who never learns her lesson. Their fate no longer concerns me. I just want them to live their lives away from me. Time passed, and peace returned to the office. The director was his usual cheerful self, and the clerks chatted away each morning. I was busy working as a lawyer. And Alex, who was now quite independent, supported me wholeheartedly. On early workdays or weekends, I made sure to spend quality time with Alex. During this time, I started dating Mr. Johnson, my trainer. Initially, we were just divorcees sharing drinks and work advice. But over time, something sparked between us. Looking back now, I might have been in love with Mr. Johnson since that time. However, due to my failed marriage, I had to be cautious. But Mr. Johnson told me he would wait for me forever. I had become somewhat afraid of men because of my ex-husband, but Mr. Johnson's kindness gradually healed me. As I continued to date Mr. Johnson, what mattered to me the most was Alex's feelings. If Alex ever had negative feelings towards Mr. Johnson, I was ready to end the relationship with him immediately. However, contrary to my concerns, Alex really liked Mr. Johnson and was always around him. Mr. Johnson also treated Alex like his own son, loving and caring for him. I'm sure we can become a happy family. In the future, I hope to build a happy home with Mr. Johnson and our son.